Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited. Speak Up is just about 4 weeks away, and we all get to be together, whether it's in person or online, and get to see each other's faces and be able to talk and just enjoy all that God has for us there. So we are looking forward to that. But this live today and the ones that we have in this series are meant to really prepare you for some of the things that are offered at Speak Up so that you can make the most of your time and your investment, because coming to a conference is a big investment, whether you're doing it virtually or you're doing it in person. It costs your time, it costs money. And so we want to really equip you so that you can make the most of the experience that you're going to have there. So this is the first of 3 trainings that we are going to do. And this one is all about one sheets. Now, next week, we're going to be on Zoom together, and it will be very fun to see each other's faces. Carol Kent will be with me, and we will teach together, but we're going to do an audit. And so often when I go to conferences, people say, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know who to meet with. I don't know what classes to take. And so this Zoom will hopefully help you figure out what is your next best step, and then how can the workshops, the faculty that's there, whether it's virtual or online, be the best person to meet with or class to engage with so that you can take the next step that's best for your ministry. And then finally, the very last training that we will have will be just like this on YouTube. And I'm going to talk about one-on-ones and what questions would be the best questions to ask depending on who you're meeting with. So go ahead if you want, interact in the chat. You can tell us where you're from, what you're most excited about being at Speak Up, if you're attending in person or virtual. But I'm going to go ahead and just teach through today one sheets. And I called this one sheets that open doors. So what to bring to a writers and speakers conference. And then as well as another one sheet that you could use even outside the conference. So before we jump into it, let me tell you about a conversation I had just a few weeks ago when I was at the Blue Ridge Christian Writers Conference in North Carolina. So I was sitting in a coffee shop, and a conversation that I had with a guy led him to telling me about his book. And I, of course, was willing to listen. And so he began, and he continued to talk, and he continued to talk, and he continued to talk some more. And 20 minutes later, I knew about his job as a therapist. I knew the backstory to the book. I knew the inspiration behind it, the research he had done, the themes, the client that made him realize he needed the book, and possibly the family history of several generations. At one point, I started wondering if I should even order another coffee, because we were clearly settling in for the entire afternoon. Finally, I stopped him with this one simple question. What is your goal for this conference? Why did you invest in it? Why are you here? And without hesitation, he said, well, I want to pitch to agents. Then he told me he had appointments scheduled with 3 prominent people in the publishing industry. And that's when I realized something. His problem wasn't that he didn't know his book. His problem was actually that he knew his book too well. He had spent so much time living with the message that he really didn't know how to explain it simply. So we spent the next few minutes working on his pitch. We talked about things like, who is his reader? What problem does the reader have? Why this book even matters? And then how would you explain your book in 30 seconds instead of 20 minutes? By the end of our conversation, he had a much clearer message and a much better plan for his appointments. So as I walked away, I thought, this is exactly why this training that we're doing today for Speak Up attendees is needed. Because so many of us have the same challenge. We know our message, we love our message, and we've spent months or perhaps years working on it. But when someone asks, tell me about your book, or tell me what you speak about, we either freeze completely, or we launch into what I call the hostage version of the conversation, where the other person is politely looking for the nearest exit. So a one sheet is going to help solve the problem, because it clearly communicates exactly what you want your reader, your person you're meeting with, to know. It helps people understand who you are, and it helps start the kind of conversation that can open up the doors. So today we're going to talk about the different types of one sheets, who needs them, and how to determine which one will best serve your goals at Speak Up. And don't worry, we're not going to create anything today. Today's goal is simply to understand the possibilities. Then in the Facebook group, so if you're not in there yet, make sure you check that email that Bonnie sent out today so you can get in the Facebook group. In the Facebook group, we're going to get really practical over the next few days and even into next week. But first, we're going to answer a basic question, and that is, what exactly is a one sheet? So a one sheet is at its core a single page marketing document. It's designed to give someone a quick snapshot of who you are, what you do, and what you're offering. So I just want to give a shout out to Heather, who is in the green room putting all of the comments up. You're going to get to meet her at Speak Up as well. She and her husband are leading worship. So thank you, Heather, for getting everything up for us. Okay, so that's what a one sheet is, a single page marketing document designed to give someone a quick snapshot of who you are, what you do, and what you're offering. So think of it this way. At Speak Up, you're going to have the opportunity to meet with some agents, publishers, editors, perhaps some coaches, other industry professionals that are there. They have such a fantastic team. But you'll also be networking with other attendees. In many of those situations, you may have only a few minutes to introduce yourself and what you're working on. And so a one sheet is going to help continue the conversation even after you have walked away. And that's the key. A one sheet isn't designed to tell your entire story. It's not a resume. It's not even a proposal. It's not your life history squeezed onto a page. Its job is simply to start the conversation. So when someone looks at your one sheet, they should quickly understand, first of all, who you are, what you're working on, perhaps, and then why they would want to know more. So think of it as the movie trailer instead of the entire movie. The goal isn't to answer every question. The goal is to create enough interest that someone might want to ask the next question. So another benefit of the one sheet is it's going to help you look prepared and professional. When you hand this well-designed one sheet to an agent or publisher, you're communicating something beyond the information on the page. You're showing them that you've thought through your message, your audience, and even your goals. And here's the good news. Your one sheet doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, for many of you, this may be your very first conference. Your one sheet may evolve over time as your platform grows, as your book develops, as your speaking ministry expands, and that is completely normal. What really matters is that you have a clear professional tool that helps people understand who you are and what you're bringing to the table. So today we're going to walk through a couple different kinds of one sheets. We're going to talk about who needs them and what information belongs on each one, so you can arrive at Speak Up feeling confident and prepared. And if you're online, you're able to share that with those that you meet as well as in your one-on-ones. So let's start with the most common one sheet you will see at a writer's conference, and that is the book one sheet. So this is the one thing that most people think of when they think of the term one sheet. If you're meeting with an agent, a publisher, maybe an acquisitions editor, this is probably the most important one sheet you're going to create. Now, before anyone panics and starts making notes about margins and fonts and whether your headshot makes you look trustworthy, let me give you permission to just relax. Take a breath. Today's goal is simply awareness. So in the Facebook group this week, it's going to be all about implementation, but today's just, let's learn what it's all about. So I'm going to walk you through 3 specific examples, layouts, and strategies for each type of one sheet. So the book one sheet is kind of like the movie poster for your book. It's not the entire movie. It's not the director's commentary or even deleted scenes. It's just highlights. It's highlights that make someone stop and say, well, I really want to know more about this. So a strong book one sheet will usually include these things. And I'll put this in the Facebook group for you, your book title and subtitle, your book cover mock-up if you have one, a hook that perhaps it captures their attention in just 1 or 2 sentences, a brief description of your book, who your target audience is, a short author bio. Perhaps you have some platform highlights that you can give them, and your contact information. So notice what isn't on the list. It's not your entire manuscript. That would take a lot. I know some of you are tempted, but if they understood that, if you thought that if they understood all 287 pages, that they would just love it. Well, maybe they would, but they're not going to read 287 pages during your 15-minute appointment or even at the conference, and honestly, not even afterwards. The purpose of the one sheet is to answer these 3 questions. What is it? Who is it for? And why should I care? That's it. If you can answer those 3 questions clearly, you are already ahead of many conference attendees. So let's talk about who this one sheet is for. The primary audience would be agents, publishers, acquisition editors. These are people who are evaluating projects every single day. They look for clarity. They look for marketability. They're looking for readers for your book. And perhaps most importantly, they're looking for someone who understands their own message. A polished one sheet really does communicate confidence, not arrogance and not even perfection. It communicates confidence. It says, I've done the work to understand my book, my audience, and my purpose. And trust me, that is going to go a long way. So over the next few days in the Facebook group, I'm going to share some examples, maybe some tips for building that one sheet that helps industry professionals quickly understand your project and determine whether it's a fit for what they're looking for. But for now, I want you to think about this question. If you had 30 seconds to explain your book to an industry professional, what would you say? Because that's really the heart of a book one sheet. Now, the second one sheet we're going to talk about is the author brand one sheet. And this one sheet is really going to be the one that serves you the longest. This one is especially valuable for nonfiction writers, Bible study authors, ministry leaders, speakers, and anyone who really has more than one book idea rattling in their head. So if you're sitting there thinking, I have 6 book ideas, 3 speaking topics, 2 ministry ideas, and a partridge in a pear tree, this one might be for you. So a book one sheet focuses on a project. The author brand one sheet focuses on you. The book one sheet is the project. The author brand is you, because sometimes the industry professional isn't just evaluating a book. They're evaluating the person behind the book. So think about it this way. Let's say you meet an editor at Speak Up and you tell her about your Bible study. Then you mention your podcast, your speaking ministry, your Facebook group, the devotional that you're writing, and a workbook you're considering. And at some point she starts wondering, wait, what does this person actually do? An author brand one sheet is going to help answer that question, because it's going to provide for them a clear snapshot of your ministry. It's going to include your message and your mission. So a clear snapshot of your ministry, your message, and your mission. A strong author brand one sheet typically includes a professional photo, your mission or core message, books or projects you've created, the audience you serve, the speaking topics that you're comfortable with, your platform highlights, and of course, always your contact information. Notice that this one sheet isn't centered around a single book. It's centered around your message or your ministry. So your calling, whatever lane you are in, it's this unique contribution that you are bringing to the table. In fact, the one sheet is the book one sheet is the movie poster, but the author brand sheet is more like your Netflix profile, all the different things that you have been watching. It helps people understand all the things that are connected to your message, because many people that go to Speak Up have a ministry that they are fulfilling. And so they have a ministry brand. And within that ministry brand, you will see all the different elements of that ministry. So let's talk about who this one sheet is for. This is often helpful when meeting coaches, editors, publishers, even other attendees during a networking conversation. But here's the reality. Not every conversation at Speak Up is a pitch. Some of the most valuable conversations happen over coffee, lunch, or even standing in line waiting for the buffet. And when someone asks, "Tell me about what you do," it's helpful to have something that clearly communicates your overall message and mission and your ministry. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people trying to be everything to everyone. Their one sheet tells us that they write devotionals, they speak on marriage, they teach Bible studies, they coach businesses, they train leaders, they lead retreats, maybe they bake cookies and rescue puppies, and occasionally they try to solve world peace. But we really do need focus. The goal isn't to tell people everything you've done. The goal is to help them understand what you are known for, because this type of clarity is going to, again, create confidence, and confidence is going to create the opportunities before you. So again, over the next few days in the Facebook group, we're going to explore a little bit more of author brand one sheets, and I'll help you think through what belongs on yours if that's the one you choose to bring to Speak Up. But here's a question for you to consider. If someone asked you, "What do I want to be known for?" could you answer that in one sentence? Because that sentence is often the foundation of a powerful author brand one sheet. So for example, on my website is my one sentence. My one word is approachable, and my sentence is inviting people into his story. Very simple, but it allows the person who is looking at my website, or that's what I would use for my one sheet. It allows them to know what I want to be known for. Okay, so those are the two. We have the book and we have the author. Now we have the speaker one sheet. So this is going to be for the speakers on the live today. So maybe I should say future speakers, because every time I teach at Speak Up, there are people who tell me I'm not really a speaker yet. Then 20 minutes later, they're telling me about the Bible study they're leading and the women's event they spoke at and the Sunday school class they teach or the retreat where they shared their testimony. Friend, that is what speaking is. You may not be speaking to 5,000 people under the bright lights with a fog machine and a walk-on song, but if God's given you a message to share, there's a good chance speaking is part of your future. And that's where the speaker one sheet comes in. So the speaker one sheet is designed to help the event planner quickly understand who you are, what you speak about, and whether you're a good fit for their audience. So perhaps think about it as your ministry brochure. So not a boring trifold structure sense, but here's how I can serve your audience. A strong speaker one sheet typically includes these things: a professional headshot, a speaker tagline, a short bio. Here's where it gets a little different: 3 to 5 presentation topics, audience takeaways, speaker experience, and testimonials if available, and then of course your contact information. Now let me point out something important. The important thing on this list is not your bio, and it's not even your photo, and it's definitely not the fact that you once spoke to 15 women in a church fellowship hall during a snowstorm. The most important thing is this: what is the transformation that you are bringing to your audience? Event planners are constantly asking, what will my audience gain from the speaker? What problem will they solve? What encouragement are they going to receive? And perhaps even, are people going to leave better than they arrived? Your speaker one sheet should answer those types of questions, because event planners aren't hiring a topic. They're inviting someone into their space who can help their audience grow. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Carol, I'm coming to speak up to meet agents and publishers. Why would I need a speaker one sheet for Speak Up? Well, great question. Because one of the biggest mistakes that attendees make is assuming every opportunity comes from a formal appointment. It doesn't. Some of the most valuable opportunities at Speak Up happen in conversations. You might meet someone who's leading a women's ministry during lunch. You might sit next to a retreat coordinator during one of the sessions. You might connect with a conference director for another conference while waiting for your coffee. In one season of my life, when I directed large women's retreats here in Arizona, at Speak Up one year, I met Lee Nienhuis just randomly at lunch. My husband and I were sitting at a table alone, and she and her assistant came and sat with us. He had just attended her podcast workshop and was telling me what a fantastic job she did. And in the conversation, it led to her coming to Arizona to speak for 2 weekends at our retreats. It sparked also an incredible friendship. So make sure that you're connecting. And our women loved her and wanted her back. She is one of the best. And that's the way that your conversation may shift as well. The question from, so what do you write, to do you speak? And if the answer is yes, having a speaker one sheet makes you look professional and prepared. Even if you're not actively pitching speaking opportunities, remember, people often hire people they remember, and people remember people who make it easy to remember them and what they do. So a speaker one sheet can be beneficial for you, not just within your own community when you're trying to get opportunities to speak, but at conferences where women, especially Speak Up, have ministries. So remember, actually, let's talk about the testimonials. So in the testimonial, if you have it, wonderful, use them. If you don't have one, it's okay. Don't panic. I promise there's not this secret conference police force checking your one sheet for the missing testimonial. Everyone starts somewhere. So what matters most is that you're clearly communicating your message and how you serve an audience. So again, in the Facebook group, we're going to talk through speaker one sheets and walk through the elements that help event planners really quickly identify whether or not you're going to be a good fit for them. But here is the question that you need to think about. If someone asked you, what do you speak about? Would your answer be clear and compelling and memorable? Think through what you would say, because that answer is often the foundation of a powerful speaker one sheet. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is kind of a hybrid model. It's the speaker author hybrid one sheet. And many of you, I'm sure, that are here today are this person. In fact, if you're sitting here thinking, well, I have a book, I speak a little, I teach Bible studies, I have a ministry, congratulations. You're exactly who this one sheet was created for. This is probably the most common profile that we see at Speak Up, because most attendees aren't just writers or just speakers. They're doing both. They're writing books that support their speaking. They're speaking to audiences who buy their books. They're leading ministries that create opportunities for both. And so the challenge is many people show up carrying multiple one sheets, one for their book, one for speaking, one for their ministry. And for one thing, they forgot they printed it 6 months ago because they're carrying enough paper to qualify for a small office supply store. That's where the hybrid one sheet comes in, because this document is going to allow yourself to be presented as both the writer and the speaker on a single page. Now, yes, you can do front and back if you would like. So think of it as a professional snapshot. If someone had one piece of paper to understand who you are and what you do, this would be it. So let me clarify. This is not what you do for pitching your new book idea. The books on this one sheet are already written and published. So a strong speaker author hybrid one sheet includes, again, your professional headshot, a core message, your book or books, your speaking topics, the ministry focus that you have, And then it would include your website, perhaps social media links and contact information. So notice something very important. This focus isn't a book or even speaking. The focus is the message, because ultimately that's what's connecting everything. Your book exists to communicate your message. Your speaking exists to communicate your message, and your ministry exists to communicate your message. So it's all about your message. The hybrid one sheet helps people see the bigger picture. Now, here's where I see many people struggle. When I ask them, what is your core message? I often get a 5-minute answer. If your core message takes longer to explain than your appointment, we may have a problem, because a good core message should be simple enough that someone can quickly understand it. So they want to know who you help, what challenges you addressed, and how lives are changed. So for example, I help women discover God's faithfulness in difficult seasons. Or I help parents disciple their children with confidence. Or perhaps I help believers move from fear to faith through practical Bible study. It's simple, it's clear, and it's memorable. So the hybrid one sheet works especially well because many of the people you meet at Speak Up don't really fit into one category. You may be talking to an editor who also coordinates events, a publisher who's looking for speakers, a ministry leader who's searching for resources, or a conference attendee who could eventually become a ministry partner. This hybrid one sheet gives them a complete picture of who you are without overwhelming them. It's like the Swiss Army knife of one sheets. Not because it does everything perfectly, but because it's an incredibly useful in a wide variety of situations. And if you don't have a book idea you're pitching and you're only going to create one sheet for Speak Up, this is probably the one I would recommend for most attendees. Now, again, over the next few days, we're going to be having something about this in the Facebook group, so you know how to organize it well so you can communicate your message really clear without cluttering up the space. So here's your question before we move on. If you met someone for the first time and walked away remembering only one thing about you, what would you want that one thing to be? Because the answer to that question is often the foundation of a powerful speaker and author hybrid one sheet. So now those are the one sheets that we're really going through. So then we would say, well, who needs what? We get that one sheets are important, but which one do I need? Because we don't want to bring 4 one sheets to Speak Up. And the answer is, well, it depends. I know that's everyone's favorite conference answer, but it is true. The right one sheet depends on who you're meeting and what you're hoping to accomplish. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is creating materials before you actually create your strategy. You spend hours and hours designing these beautiful one sheets and then realize they aren't actually meeting anyone who needs it. It's kind of like showing up at a potluck with ice cream in Arizona and discovering that it is not going to be a great dessert option. You brought something nice, but it's not the right thing. So before you create anything, I want you to think about your appointments, the people that you're going to meet. Think about the conversations you hope to have. Think about the people that you sent to Bonnie to tell her, these are the people that I would like to meet with. You obviously will have an idea of why you're choosing to meet with them. And this is going to help you, because every one sheet should support the goal that you have. If you're meeting with an agent or a publisher with an idea, your book one sheet is the best choice for you. If you're planning to connect with coaches or editors, ministry people that are there, you want them to understand what you're doing in your overall ministry, that's where an author brand one sheet might be more effective. Or perhaps you're helping to build your speaking opportunities, your podcast audience. Maybe you want to be a podcast audience and you know that there's going to be podcasters there. Your speaker one sheet may be just the right fit. And if you're a little bit writer, a little bit speaker, and a whole lot ministry minded, that's where the hybrid one sheet may serve you best. the goal isn't to create every possible one sheet. The goal is to create the right one sheet for you today for this conference, because every document you bring should help move the conversation forward. So here's an exercise for you. You can, when you rewatch this, because as soon as we're done, it's going to be available for you to rewatch. You can go to, it says we're at, wow, I'm talking a lot, 30 minutes and 44 seconds. You can go to that minute marker and you'll get these questions. So just all you need to write down right now is 31 minutes and you'll get the questions. So question 1 is this: think about who you asked to meet potentially at Speak Up, or who you are planning to perhaps try and sit at a meal. Take a few minutes and really put that list together. Agents, publishers, editors, coaches, faculty, potential speaking contacts, ministry leaders, industry leaders, other attendees. The clearer you are about who you're going to meet, the easier it becomes to prepare. So who am I meeting at Speak Up? The second thing is, what do I want from that meeting? This is where a lot of people get stuck because, well, I want them to like me, is not actually a strategy. So do you want feedback? Do you want some direction? Do you want publishing guidance or someone to coach you? Do you want to explore some speaking opportunities, or are you there to really build connection and relationship? The more specific you are, the more valuable the conversation becomes. So that is question 2. And that is, what do I want from the meeting? What are your goals? And then which one sheet then supports that goal? Now the puzzle pieces start coming together, because instead of creating documents because everyone else is creating them, you're creating a resource that supports the objective that you have. You're matching the tool to the task. And then question 4, what action do I want them to take after reading it? Now, this was probably the most important question of all, because when someone puts down your one sheet, what do you hope is going to happen next? Do you want them to request a proposal from you, visit your website, maybe schedule a follow-up conversation? You might want them to invite you to speak or read your manuscript. You might even want them to join your email list. Every one sheet should lead somewhere, because a one sheet isn't the destination. It's the bridge. It's a thing that helps move the conversation from an introduction to the opportunity that you're looking for. And that's really what Speak Up is about, not filling folders or seeing how many appointments you can squeeze into the week. It's about creating these meaningful connections that are going to help you move forward in your calling. So as you prepare your one sheet over the next few weeks, or perhaps tweak the one that you've already created, don't start with the document. Start with your goal. Because when you're clear about where you're going, creating the right one sheet becomes so much easier. And that's exactly what we will do this week as I put more content in the Facebook group. Now, as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your one sheet is simply a tool that helps to open doors. And more importantly, it starts a conversation. And the conversations that you have is where the opportunities begin. So don't leave today thinking, I have to create the perfect one sheet. There is no perfect one sheet. In fact, if I pulled out the one sheets I used 10 years ago when I first went to Speak Up, I would probably hide them under a stack of conference notebooks and pretend they never existed. Your one sheet is going to continue to grow as you grow. The one sheet you use this year, you will probably not use next year. Your message is going to become clearer. Your platform is going to expand. Your ministry is evolving, and that's all normal. What matters right now is taking the very next step. Remember, everyone you admire started somewhere. Every author once had a first one sheet. Every keynote speaker once introduced themselves to a room of strangers. Every ministry leader once sat where you're sitting, wondering if they were ready. And here's the good news. God has never needed perfect people to accomplish his purposes. He always works through people who are willing. So create the one sheet, schedule those appointments, be open for the conversations, ask questions, and then trust God with the results. So again, in the Facebook group, I'm going to be sending out or posting those practical tips so that you can build the one sheet that best fits your goal. I hope this was helpful today. Next week, I am very excited because we're going to be on Zoom so we can see each other face to face or screen to screen, I suppose. And we're going to work on our writer and speaker audit, where we're going to evaluate the next step for you on your journey. I'm going to have a tool that I created for you, and you're going to identify your next best step before Speak Up. So I'm excited that Carol Kent is going to join me, and what's better than one Carol, but two, especially when that other Carol is Carol Kent. So until then, remember this: you don't need to arrive at Speak Up with everything figured out. You just need to arrive prepared enough to start a conversation. Maybe, just maybe, keep your one sheet in a folder so you don't have to dig through your purse or backpack, snacks, your charging cord, and lip balm and cough drops and all the things, mysterious receipts that pop up while the person across from you waits patiently. Just trust me on that one. So I hope today was good. If we have any questions, Heather, if you want to pull them up, I'll take a few minutes to do that. Otherwise, I will hopefully answer them in the Facebook group. So, okay, my eyes are not that great. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Here we go. What if all the topics are not directly related to your brand? Do you include all of them? That's a really good question, because so often many of us have different kind of aims. But if you think through, like, what is your main ministry focus, you could potentially try and craft it so they all do kind of fall in line. Otherwise, you could have your main ministry perhaps in the front page, maybe half of the back. Then maybe on the bottom half, just say other opportunities or other works or something to that effect. But again, we don't want to clutter it up. You really need to think, what's my goal? If my goal is speaking and I really want to connect and work on my speaking, I may not want to put all my children's books on there, because I'm going to be pitching more and talking about more of my ministry to perhaps women. So you can put it at the bottom, but again, don't get too cluttered that people get lost in all of the things that you do, because we all do lots of things. So pick the main thing that you want to work. So that's why we start with our goal first. And then from our goal, we go into what we want to place on our one sheet. The author brand one sheet doesn't talk about the book. So the author brand one sheet is basically an overall brand. If you are an author, but you're not a speaker per se, then you would have an author brand one sheet, just speaks of the works that you have published. The email about this training is the first email I have received from Speak Up. Is there another general email after registering for the conference that we should have received? Well, I don't know, because I'm not responsible for that, but I can find out for you. I think really right now you will start amping up. So if you have attended in person, how long ago did you register? If you want to put that up for me, that would be helpful. I know like Bonnie has sent out a few where you could sign up for your one sheets or your one-on-ones. So if you haven't received that email yet, and this is the first one you got and you've registered a while ago, then you may want to reach out to Bonnie and just make sure that you are on the list or that she has your correct email. Now, if you got this training email, you probably do have the right email. If you're part of the virtual conference, you will be receiving emails probably starting next week, as we just kind of push towards getting a few things in line for that, like one-on-ones, and just giving you some tips on how we're going to be navigating the virtual conference. Just confirming that this is only that it's only those who are attending in person who get the 15-minute appointments. So in the 15-minute appointments, yes, if you are attending in person, you get 15 minutes. If you are attending virtually, if you are a deluxe virtual audience member, then you get one 15-minute appointment with our our virtual faculty. If you are a all access, you get 2. And we'll have signups for those later. When do we sign up for in-person appointments? Wow, this is like a um, Speak Up general conference or questions. Okay, so Bonnie sent out, I believe it was maybe a week ago, the opportunity for you to tell your top, I think she usually takes like 7 or 10 names from the in-person faculty, and then you can sign up. Then she like goes through your list and tries to give you the first 4 on your list if possible. Now, once you get to Speak Up, all of the attendee or all of the faculty will have their appointment sheets on a counter. And so once you get there, if there's somebody that you want to meet with that you didn't get in the ones that you sent to Bonnie, you can sign up for an appointment then. What should those of us who are brand new do? I'm still writing my first book. Well, that is a question for next week, because next week, that's exactly what we're going to be addressing. We're going to look at where you are in your journey. So you're still writing a book. So what would be some of the goals you would have for Speak Up? What workshops would be best for you to attend? Who would be best for you to really try and connect with while you're there? And honestly, if this is your first time attending Speak Up, or even your 20th time, one of the biggest parts of Speak Up or any writer and speaker conference is that you do make connections. My first 3 years attending Speak Up, I really didn't do much on my writing or speaking journey. But what I did was I made connections, and I met so many incredible people who have encouraged me on my journey. And those are the people who have become not only my biggest champions, but my publisher, my agent, all the things. So make sure that you just are open to just talking with people. Sometimes we just have to walk into a conference with open hands and recognize that God is going to do his work if we just step in and are obedient to what he's calling us to do. So it's okay if you don't have huge goals. If this is your first time specifically, it is all about just making the right connections, or making any connections that will most likely lead to some right connections. Is there anything different or helpful to focus on for middle grade children's series? So yeah, I mean, that would be a great author one sheet if you have books that are already written, or you have some goals. So an author one sheet does tell a little bit about you. Why are you passionate about middle grade? Are there ministry opportunities that you've had in the past that kind of give you that entrance into that grade level? And so you can place that type of information on your one sheet, so that when you meet with perhaps a potential publisher or editor or agent or acquisitions editor, that you are able to then give that to them, so they see really the heart behind what you're writing. I have a book that I own the rights to, and I want to pitch a companion devotional or Bible study. I am also a speaker. What kind of one sheet should I use? My goal is to sign with an agent or publisher. So I would really focus on the Bible study. So what I would do is I would take the book that you own the rights to, and I would give a brief synopsis of that book, and then have the majority of it be, this is the book that I'm creating to go with that. You also may want to, you don't need to put this on your one sheet, but as you talk to, if you're trying to get an agent, you could tell them how many books you've sold, because they would want to know, because if that book has sold really well, then the potential for them perhaps having, talking you through that Bible study would be great. This was so helpful. Yay. I'm so glad. It was helpful for me too. This was a great opportunity for me to remember like what I need to do for my own ministry and what I am doing. And I cannot wait till we get to Speak Up, whether you are virtual or you are in person, because I get to host the virtual. So I get to see all of you on the virtual stage as well, or on the virtual platform, as well as in person, and can't wait to get to meet you. Please come up and say hello to me. I'll be at the virtual little studio that we have in the lobby. I'll be teaching a pre-conference if you want to come and learn about, what am I teaching? How to do a course. If you haven't signed up for a pre-conference yet, oh my goodness, there are so many amazing ones. So make sure that you even look at that list. You can sign up right now for it. You didn't have to do that when you registered. Even the pre-conference, virtual conference gets a pre-conference this year. So that's exciting for those that are deluxe and all access. And then let's see. Yeah, just can't wait to be with you all. And so next week, same time, different location. We're going to be on Zoom, and I can't wait to see all of you there with your smiley faces on Zoom. Carol and I will be there to just really guide you. This is one of the most important parts of preparing for a conference because we want you to walk in. We don't just want you to, as Carol Kent's book says, speak up with confidence. We want you to walk in to speak up with confidence, knowing that you have a plan and a goal. And then prayerfully, as you step into that space, allowing God to move and mold and direct. But having a goal is always the best way to start a conference experience and make the most of your investment. So thank you for being with me today. I can't wait till next week. We'll see you on Zoom.